Hello, my loves. Welcome to Elina's Alchemy. This is Elina, and we're diving today into the topic of what is grid work? How do you do it? And are you potentially a grid worker for ascension? So grid work is multidimensional light work. So at its core, it involves anchoring frequencies, codes, and higher consciousness into the energetic grids of the earth. So these grids are like the nervous system of the planet. They hold memory, they hold frequency and data that affect collective consciousness. So grid workers are people who are called often intuitively to specific locations, certain land, specific moments in time, to bring through healing light and recalibration. And they might be compelled to visit power spots or sacred places or landscapes or even like dark, forgotten areas that need clearing and light anchoring, or even places that are not so popular or not so special seemingly, and you're like, how the heck did I find myself here? Like, why? I know this happened to myself. Like, I found myself in Germany just like this. Now I know what I'm doing here because now I have all this insight, but over 10 years ago I just ended up here seemingly because of a relationship that actually also even fell apart just as I had established my life here. So in the years that followed, and of course you can also get a glimpse at the reasons why you may be at a place at a particular time in your life. You can get a glimpse on that by looking at your astrocartography. And I found out that in Germany, I am on my Neptune astrocartography line. And this is also the place that I had my spiritual awakening in my life. I went through an incredible roller coaster where I was extracted from my old life and propelled into a completely new, different timeline where, for example, I finally accepted my psychic medium gifts and I focused on honing my abilities as an energy healer, and this whole crazy journey started. And now I know that I have been here because I have in the background been doing grid work without realizing it. And this happens, for a lot of people. And all of the places that I passed through before even ending up in Germany, these were also, now I know, very strategically orchestrated places that I thought that I was there just like that. But actually my journey made sure to first take me to England. And I spent quite some time there. And as I was getting activated, and I remember I was feeling so drawn to that place, and really my plans were to stay there. I had a band over there that I was considering to stay and be professionally employed there. And while I was at the beginning stages of being in England, I was a little bit in my tourist mindset. So I, went to Stonehenge and I went to some very particular other places. And I feel like there was an activation that took place during that time. And once I received that activation, life was like, okay, now you have to move on. You're finished with what you were here to do. It's time to move forward. And you were not meant to stay here. You just had to come here, receive that activation so that you can move on to the next place. And this is now the insight that I have about that time in my life. But then what this felt like was like having at first a very strong urge to visit England, and life accommodated that. I found a band there. And once I did, and once a particular time frame passed that was required for this activation really to take root into my system, I just remember that one day I just woke up and literally saw no point in staying in England anymore. That was back in 2014 or so. And I took back any commitments that I had made, and I packed my bags and I returned to Greece for a few months until life on its own again orchestrated my exit from Greece and my relocation to Germany. And sometimes these whole relocation thing, they can even feel like a karmic hangover, where sometimes you are directed to a piece of land or a place because there's, let's say, a reason, such as a relationship with someone or a professional opportunity. And once your purpose has been completed in a place, these things usually they fall apart, or sometimes these things will be used as things to lure you into a location, because differently you would have never thought about going there. For example, I never in my life ever thought that I would be moving permanently to Germany. I thought of Germany as this very industrial land, and now I know it has a lot of nature. But I was learning German since I was like very, very young, because one day I heard Angela Merkel on TV speaking German, and I was somehow excited by the language. And I told my parents, I want to learn this language. And so I ended up doing studies on German language for years. I actually have a C1, like a C1 certificate in German language. And I had that 6 years before I even considered moving to Germany. So sometimes in hindsight, you will see that Gridworkers, we're kind of being prepared to end up in places that we have work to do. And mind you, when I was growing up, every other kid was learning French or Spanish, and I was the only kid where I was learning German, and everybody was looking at me strange because I wasn't learning French or Spanish, I was learning German. And in my time, that was like learning Chinese. Everybody was like, why German? But when my time came to relocate to Germany, I had zero problems integrating. Although I have to say, and that was also part of my Gridwork career, I landed in Saarland first in Germany, and they have a particular dialect there. And at first I felt indeed like I don't know how to speak German. I felt like, oh my gosh. And then I came to Westphalia, and the German here is more clean, more clear, and I could finally feel confident again about my German, even though I also don't use the language really in my day-to-day. I find myself expressing myself better in English. My business is in English. The English language also is interesting. I was using English since I was a very young kid. I had never taken English lessons, and I was keeping a diary in English. Can you tell me how this is possible? And generally, I have always felt such a close connection to the English language and England. Like if I'm feeling down on any given day, I will put on YouTube videos about England, and I immediately feel good again. In my day-to-day with my partner, we speak in English, even though he is German. So the English element is with me, and I still have connection to the land of England, even though I'm not in England, because my whole lifestyle is centered around the English language. And that carries the vibration of England as a portal. So I could be doing Gridwork even from a different country, just because I am immersed in the language, in the culture, in a sense, of England. For example, I'm saying this for people who may live in countries where the official language is a different language, but you speak a different language. That keeps you connected with, with the country. You could be doing grid work this way without even realizing it, because also language, the voice, this is frequency. Sound is vibration, it's frequency. And by using a language, you are doing grid work. By speaking the language of a country, you're doing grid work, because speaking it with your own voice, you are inserting your own signature, your own consciousness and vibration into the consciousness of the language, into the consciousness of that country. And so nothing is by coincidence. I'm trying to say, you guys, nothing is by accident. And sometimes maybe something called you in a country, like, for example, in my case, as I said, there was this relationship. I moved here to be with that person. And 4 years in, just when I had stabilized my whole life here and I had a job, and it wasn't so easy for me anymore to just get up and go, we broke up. I actually was the one who left the relationship. If this person was not compatible, they were not treating me good, let me just put it this way. But I realized this relationship was what was used by the universe to draw me here differently. As I said, I wouldn't have never thought about moving to Germany. I didn't know it has all of this beautiful nature. So that was a no for me. And sometimes it might feel like, oh no, I came here for this reason, and now the reason I came here, it's no more. And in the meantime, I'm stuck here. You are not stuck. This was done on purpose. And once the window is closed, you're gonna go again. Like the circumstances were shaped in such a way for you to be able to stay somewhere. And that might sometimes feel like, oh yes, I'm stuck in a place, but it's because sometimes we're doing spiritual work in the background, beneath the egoic self. And if we just allowed the ego, let's say, take us out of places before the grid work is done, that would be problematic. So sometimes the person might consider themselves stuck in a location, but we're never stuck. There's always a reason we are here. And I have seen that when the time is up and the job is done, suddenly magically the circumstances start falling into place and you are suddenly free to move on with incredible ease, while before everything was lagging. Because here's the thing, you guys, you don't need to know how you are doing grid work for it to be real. If you're called to certain places for no reason and energy shifts when you go there, or you feel the pain and the history of the land, or you find yourself speaking light language or sing or tone or offer presence in certain areas, or you feel on assignment in different cities or places that you live, even if it's temporary, then chances are you're already doing grid work. Even if you're not like realizing it, you are a grid worker. So how do you consciously do it? I feel like grid work starts with present and intention. So really you can go intentionally praying or meditating on land that feels dense or traumatized. And if you do that, by the way, you guys, I say you should always have protection around you, okay? Such as the 12D shield. And if you don't know what this is, you can find a video that I did explaining what the 12D shield is, because I think in those times, crystals and all that stuff is not enough. We need multidimensional anchoring. So you could go singing or toning codes into nature, or offering healing from your own heart field to the land or the animals, the waters, walking with reverence and listening deeply, or anchoring new frequencies like Christic light, divine love, or unity consciousness into the soil. Like use your hands to do that, direct energy into forgotten places or cities full of distortion. And sometimes, you guys, it's as simple as just being there, like your frequency. When it's clear and embodied, that's the code. You don't have to force anything. And grid workers, I feel like we're here to stabilize ascension frequencies on the planet. And this means helping to clear old trauma from wars, colonization, abuse, ancient fall timelines, and holding the field so this earth can birth the new Eden template. So it's sacred, it's subtle, okay? And some signs that you may be a grid worker, I feel, is like, I don't know, having spontaneous emotional reactions when certain places with no like logical explanation, or needing a lot of time in nature to recharge after visiting big cities or crowds, feeling like your body and energy are doing work on the land while you walk or breathe or pray or even sleep, or receiving dreams or visions of geometric patterns or maps or ley lines, or seeing that in front of you. Sometimes grid workers work with ancestral timelines, with crystalline grids and dragons and elementals and crystals, and even star beings who assist in calibrating the new energies to the earth. But the most important parts, as I have found, is that this work, you guys, it happens through embodiment. It's not about escaping out of the body or floating somewhere into the universe. It's about being deeply grounded and present and attuned, because your body becomes a living temple through which new architecture is anchored into the field. So go to places and have fun, and prioritize also a little bit of time for meditation and just silence to hear what the land could be telling you. Or even intentionally, as I said, like laying your hands on the land or rocks with the intention to heal, or say a prayer over the land, say thank you to the elementals, or speak to the ancestors. At some point, Spirit was showing me that the whole craziness of millennials going around the world and traveling, this is because the millennial generation, 90% of them are grid workers. And that's why they have also very unconventional lifestyles, considering how the previous generations choose to live, especially the late millennials, for example, kids born in the 90s, like myself, but also those who started coming in after the convergence of August 1987. So you could be seeing something that is considered a trend, like, oh my gosh, a whole generation is crazy about traveling. But there is something much deeper behind that. And I'm not saying that this is the only thing that is going on behind the scenes, because Spirit has shown me that there are also some very manipulative things that are going on behind the scenes as well. But when it comes to the reclamation of planet Earth mission, it has been assisted and supported by this thing that looks like a social trend. I just feel called to drop this here shortly when I'm saying about manipulative things that could be going on behind the scenes. I'm talking about, first of all, the cultures shaped around traveling, in some cases where people travel to places just to go get wasted and party all day, and they don't end up anchoring any high vibrational energy to places that they go. Instead, they are getting siphoned by grids that are also established in certain places like Ibiza or Mallorca. I see there's a lot, like, because I see here in Germany, a lot of Germans, they all go there. And the vacations there, is very particular, the style. They don't understand that they go to a place and instead of having their energy replenished, they go and they get siphoned. And also I'm seeing that only people with a very particular lifestyle end up going there. For example, I don't have this lifestyle where I will go out and get wasted and drink. And when I visited Spain, I was actually drawn to Andalusia, and I visited, and it was a wonderful place. And without realizing it, I was doing grid work. My energy did not get siphoned. If anything, I got activated, and the land benefited from my presence as well, because wherever we go, we act as anchoring rods for energy. And also I found myself in Gibraltar, and I had no plans about going to those particular places. I just wrote in my manifestation journal back then in 2019 that I wanted to go to Spain. I wrote that in January, and in February, I got an invitation from a luxury hotel that they wanted me to go there and play music for a few weeks at their resort. And guess where they had their resort? It was in Andalusia. And when I was there, someone from the group suddenly says, hey, should we go visit Gibraltar? Like, we're so close. And we got in a rented car and we went to Gibraltar. And then someone else said another day, hey, should we go to Cadiz? And we hopped on the rented car and we went to Cadiz. And I found out there was a castle there that actually Spirit told me the very same place. It was orchestrated for me to be there. So my partner also had to be there, and he was there with me because there was grid work happening, even though we thought we were just sightseeing. So grid work can be happening in the background because our oversoul is working on that, but your physical 3D body is needed in a location to anchor the interdimensional energy work that is happening. So I'm trying to say, you guys, that grid work is real and your soul knows how to do it. If this resonates with you, trust your pull to visit certain places, to go walk by a river, to lay your hands on ancient trees, to cry in a place that others walk past without noticing anything. Or this happened to me in a forest in Austria. And you are remembering who you are through all of that. And so if you want to go deeper into energy work, like clearing interference and becoming a stable conduit for higher frequencies, check out also my offerings below this video, including my energetic sovereignty webinar and conscious uncording course. There are tools that help you clear distortion and reconnect to your divine architecture, so that when you walk the earth, you're not just healing yourself, you're also healing timelines and grids and the collective. Because the thing is, you guys, I feel the earth remembers you and your codes are needed. And if you feel also that with some places you don't have a good feeling, a good vibe, or good memories, even when you think of these places, maybe your stomach drops, you could benefit indeed from cutting cords with certain places. And that's something that not a lot of people are talking about. Most people talk about cutting cords with people, but I have found that we could even have cords with objects and places, locations, even buildings, even temples, ancient temples, if there are past lifetimes there. If the cords are beautiful, which, like in my case with England, as I said, every time I even see a picture of a place in England, not the Big Ben, funny enough, but every time I see England countryside, this beautiful excitement, happiness boost in my solar plexus happens. And so, of course, I have a cord with England, but apparently it is a positive cord because it always gives me good energy. But if it is a cord with a place that even thinking of that place or seeing a photo of it and you feel your energy being drained, then this is a negative cord, and I would advise that you cut it. I had this experience after I visited Scotland just last year. I felt for such a long time that I wanted to go to Scotland. So there was obvious like some grid work that needed to take place, and there were lots of activations when I was there, but there were also some very, very heavy grid work that was going on there, and there was also very big siphoning grid that I found also there. There was established by negative energies that do that to many places, just like Iran, Iraq, and they go and they reverse the organic templates of Earth in some places that were in the past strong interdimensional consciousness travel portals, so to speak. And so after I came back home from Scotland, I felt exhausted, and I even got like really sick because I had done all of this grid work, and I discovered that in the process I had a cord with that place where my energy was unfortunately siphoned. So I had to do cord cutting with Scotland. And so that's something that can happen. So if you're interested in all of that stuff, you guys, I have launched, as I said, a free webinar, energy sovereignty webinar. It's talking about cords. And also if you want to go even deeper, I have launched an online course called Conscious Uncording. So I will leave the links for all of that in the description in case you're interested. And other than that, I love you all very much. I thank you for having been here with me today, and I will see you in the next one. Hopefully here back at Elina's Alchemy. Until then, stay rooted, stay radiant, and thank you for doing this work. And I love you all very much. Goodbye for now.